For this episode of Let's Talk Jinx, it's the British patch. And what I mean by British patch is that it's MSI time, and MSI is going to be in London, if you didn't know, patch 13.8. As we do every 2 weeks when a new patch drops for Let's Talk Jinx, we're going to be talking about things that might affect Jinx, whether it's Jinx changes to the champion themselves, which looks like that's not the case, changes to other AD carries and supports, because that will affect the lane matchup, of course. And if you like all this and this idea too, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's kind of just jump immediately into the video, with the first and foremost thing about the patch in general, of course, being that because it is the MSI patch, it is kind of focused towards pro play. So in pro play, Jinx for like a hot minute was in there too, but she's not really like a problem, nor is she so weak that they think she needs to be buffed. So there are no changes to Jinx directly on this patch, but there are some changes to other AD carries that we kind of don't see, as well as some supports you might be playing as with Jinx on this patch. So for example, Ezreal's base AD is being increased, and they're saying it's because the current bot lane in pro play is kind of like hyper carry skewered, and Ezreal's not really hyper carry, so to speak, right? Like, you want to be spell weaving and stuff like that, so you kind of want to give Ezreal a little bit of a push to make him be able to be viable in the pro play scene, because he's kind of not right now. Now, if you're Jinx in this situation, you're seeing Ezreal come in with a base attack damage going up from 60 to 62. One of the first things you think about is the fact that you could probably still enjoy a spot of tea in London, because you're probably not seeing Ezreal just off of 2 AD increased at MSI. But also in your solo queue games, that might be a little different, and Ezreal main is probably going to eat this up and love it, to be honest. But quite frankly, with the way trades go with his auto attacks, more so than anything else, like if they were buffing the Q on top of this or something, or I don't know, maybe making the his E cooldown, the flux, where it can kind of have that extra flash, be a little less, something like that maybe would be a little bit more of a situation. It's 2 AD. Now I know the running joke for me is to say, okay, that means he can last hit better, you know, so he's going to be able to get out of lane extra gold and stuff, and that's true. But I'm a broken record on that, so I'm trying not to just mention that like every time. But I mean, it's there. I'm not gonna say it's a no factor. But in the pro scene, I don't see this being a thing we're gonna see Ezreal for. So that's gonna, you know, kind of interesting. But in laning phase, I think Jinx still wins if she currently wins. I say if because Ezreal also kind of is a wild card. One of the reasons people like playing Ezreal is to let their supports be able to roam, and they're kind of safe. So if their enemy support's roaming a lot because the Ezreal is just really being really safe, then yeah, sure, you're technically winning lane, but maybe their support's being more impactful elsewhere, and it's a problem. So that's why the matchup with Ezreal is kind of always weird, no matter what AD carry. But with Jinx, just keep in mind, Ezreal's going to want to poke with the Q, and the Q can be blocked by minions. So you can kind of stay in your minion wave. Your rockets do outrange his auto attack range as well. So if he's walking up because he can't hit you with the Q and wants to auto attack, you can walk back and switch to your rocket launcher and be able to poke him with that instead. Janna, good old Janna, you know, with the wind and everything, like you might see in the UK with its gray skies. It's actually kind of refreshing when you're in the Pacific Northwest. To be honest, it's similar weather. It's actually kind of great. I'm not being sarcastic. The W damage is being increased. The E shield decay timer is also being increased. So on this patch, I'll just read their words, they were giving Janna some ability to get a little bit more aggressive in lane and provide additional damage with her items. Also making shielding early a lot less punishing for players who want to preempt their teammates to go in for trades with E. So basically, you know, Jinx, the whole thing is like Jinx likes to play with enchanters anyways over tankier, you know, supports. I personally like tankier supports, but that's like a bias thing. I just extra front line, a lot of them have engage. I can't be getting jumped by a Zed if we have multiple engage tools that is just keeping Zed locked down forever. Most people like the whole, you know, peel shield support style like a Janna would bring. And so the magic damage going up, allowing Janna to also be able to poke, kind of like she used to in the olden days of like mini moons and years ago, but also have the shield decay timer not be as punishing. So if you want to get shielded because you want to go in and trade a little bit. So if you're playing against Janna, one of the things that, okay, so old Janna like used to poke a lot with the W. They even used to max W, as a matter of fact, depending on who you asked, because of just the range you could constantly throw that on people for. Now, if we talk to people like Gammo before recording this video and they're asleep, I'm not about to wake them up, probably not a thing anymore, and probably still not going to be a thing after this, but don't be surprised if maybe they put a few more points into the W than maybe they used to. Maybe they used to put more points in the E and the tornado, of course. So that will hurt a little bit more. If you see Janna walking up, that's probably what they want to do, is hit you with that W, because the W slows, which makes the tornado a guarantee. So a lot of Jannas to like start the tornado, walk up, W, hope the tornado is in the right direction. Most likely it is, because Janna players tend to be pretty good at that combo, and the tornado knocks you up, and then it's just like a whole mess. of things. Sometimes you can get away with slowing and then throwing a tornado if it's a shorter range, but point is, that's the combo you want to look for as Jinx, because again, you are a bit slower as an AD carry. If you see that coming, maybe just, keep the area warded up. Now, Janna's probably not going to be hiding in and out the bushes all that often, because she's also squishy if she gets caught, so there you go. Kog'Maw, they're going to kind of pretend that Kog'Maw exists finally by saying the Void Puppy is in a rough spot. He's been in a rough spot. That's Kog'Maw's existence is a rough spot, alright? Kog'Maw's existence is a skill diff. That's how Kog'Maw works. And none of these changes that we're about to go over is about to make him a better hyper carry than Jinx, and ironically a hyper carry meta. But the passive true damage is being increased. Kog'Maw is now ghosted while he's in passive. The Q cooldown is being decreased, and the E mana cost is decreased, and the slows increased. So I take back everything I said. You can't see, but in front of me is a plate with a crow on it, and I'm about to eat it. Because apparently, okay, the passive true damage is being increased, but the ghosting while passive, so basically when he's dead, you can always run into walls and champions and minions still and not get to your target. Now you're ghosted. You just go through all of that, and you go straight beeline towards somebody. The Q cooldown is being decreased, which is kind of nice, because I believe they did the change where the bonus attack speed is put on the Q instead of the E or the W, which you used to level up when you wanted to be like artillery cannon Kog'Maw. And then the E mana cost is not only being decreased, but the slow is being increased to help Kog'Maw pick people off. So there's actually a lot of tools they're giving Kog'Maw back. It's like, okay, so Season 5 AP Kog'Maw, they kind of butchered, or I want to say kind of bodied Kog'Maw for how powerful he was as an AP mid laner back then, and he's never been the same since. Even when they did the rework, the AD carry rework, the marksman update, I should say, and they made him an artillery cannon that could break like 500% attack speed, and then they had to gut that too. Every time they try and give Kog'Maw some love, they have to take it away, which is why it says his existence is torment. So as Jinx, what do you do here? Well, first of all, you're going to get punished for killing Kog'Maw. Not really, but like, it's the same as it's always been. But like, he will be able to ghost through stuff. So if you kill him in a situation and you think, oh, the minion wave should block him from getting towards me. No, as soon as you see that hit come in that he dies on, the auto attack, whatever, be going the other way. Because while he doesn't get extra move speed, you can't use things to block that like you might have used to if you ever even saw Kog'Maw in your games. The Q cooldown being decreased will be interesting, because what it basically does, if you've never played Kog'Maw or never got hit by this by Kog'Maw, even in an ARAM game, is it kind of like takes down your resistances like a little bit, so that he can like auto attack and it'll do a little bit extra damage. And it's only going down by a second, mind you, but that can matter in a fight. We see it in animes all the time. A second is like a whole 3 episodes, so And again, the E mana cost, so even though it probably won't be AP adjacent, it will be something where it's something to worry about, because it is ability that slows, and even if Kog'Maw is not benefiting from it, maybe his suddenly ganking Jarvan, who's also getting changes on this patch, will benefit from it. And so it's something you got to worry about. So Kog'Maw kind of went from being more of a watered down American beer to like a proper British or German lager, is what we're seeing here. So there we go. Of course, I'm keeping the European and London jokes going the entire time, because London, once again, is in MSI. That's going to be fun. London is fun. So is Leona. London, Leona, they both start with the same letter. It's great. The W and armored magic resist is being increased, and the magic damage is being increased. So Leona right now, with all the tankier supports that are in the thing, the meta, so to speak, the meta, how you want to pronounce it. You want to put an accent on it. We say Drakes, by the way, instead of Dragons for this patch. She's not the best. She is a CC bot like Nautilus, but you'd still probably pick other things right now. And they want to make it so you can pick Leona. So Leona's base armor is going up, the magic resistance is going up, and the magic damage is going up on the W. So if you're playing with Jinx, the combo, again, as usual, is they're going to go in with the Zenith Blade, probably Q, and then you throw the Flame Chompers, and they're probably CC'd for a good 3 to 4 seconds, depending on how you chain this out effectively. If you're playing against Leona, one of the things that's different from her, from like a Blitzcrank or a Nautilus or Thresh, is when they miss, an ability like a Q, there might be like a good 20-second cooldown, you can punish it. If Leona misses the Zenith Blade, I'm going to be honest, last time I played Leona, I feel like the Zenith Blade gets up way faster than a hook does. And that can lock you down and get you killed, so you need to be careful of that. And she can do it through minion waves, so even using the minions to try and block that as Jinx is not going to work. However, if she is too far forward or something and tries to lock you down, and you get your Flame Chompers out on yourself in time, then when she jumps you to stun you, she'll get snared and might give you that extra time to get away before the Q can maybe also stun you too, if she doesn't do her combo correctly. Now I know these buffs are on the W, so why am I talking about the Zenith Blade? It's just because that's kind of the combo. You get beefier with the W, so you can go in and survive a bit longer, get all that CC down, especially once you have the ultimate. So if the team doesn't follow up like immediately, because we're not all pro players in solo queue, you get the little extra survivability. And then poking her down might be a little difficult too. Basically, never poke her if you see the W up. And if you see the W up, the average Leona is looking to probably go in. So there's your warning signs. And if you're playing with Leona, great, ball out. The sun doesn't really shine in the UK though, so I mean, I feel like Leona's just gonna we're not gonna make an appearance in MSI. It's just gonna be weird. People are gonna be like, what is this? I don't understand. It's like Seattle. Wakanda forever. The base armor is being decreased and the armor growth is also being decreased. Basically, he's kind of been ramping up power for a bit. Xayah is also kind of like in the meta, and the two of them are kind of like, they're kind of like a dual champion that two different people control. That's kind of how they were designed as. I know they're not exactly like, what, Heroes of the Storm, I think, Cho'Gall? I think that's Heroes of the Storm. I apologize. I know it's not Smite, I know it's not Dota. It's not exactly like that, of course, but that was like the philosophy when they designed these two champions. So they're both kind of actually decent right now, but Xayah is a little not out of control as Rakan is in their eyes. So what you might see here if you're playing against Rakan is you might not see him because the base armor is being decreased from 32 to 30 and the armor growth is going under 5. So it's 5.1 is going to 4.9. As an attack damage kind of a person, once we build crit and stuff, he's not going to be like the squishiest thing in the world like Janna. But going against a Janna might be a little bit more annoying, especially with the Janna changes as a Rakan because of these changes. And if you're Jinx and you're playing with a Rakan, he will save you, he will protect you, he'll do his job, his charm when he goes in with his ultimate with your flame choppers as usual. But playing against Rakan might be interesting because you might punish him a bit more when he misses his jump. Like when he goes in and tries to jump and knock people up, that's a good chance to poke him with your rockets. Maybe just 2 or 3 rockets and then you back off, conserve mana and stuff as Jinx, but you know, there you go. Insert relevant London or British joke here. Honorable mentions as always is whenever there's skin, so like Dawnbringer Vayne. So you might see Vayne in your games, maybe not, but just in case you do, that's why. A new skin for Vayne. Vayne players are probably going to want to play it, or people that just even find the skin pretty cool. That's the only one in the bottom lane, though. The rest are in other lanes. So there you go. That is all for this patch. We usually do like an 80 carry tier list as well. That's why I put it in the title. But it's also determined by you. Like, for example, I value the Kog'Maw changes a little bit more than I thought I was going to. So if Kog'Maw is in like Kog'Maw tier, which is like, you know, below F tier in my own tier list, I would move him up a bit for these changes. They actually are giving him some changes that are utility based and a little bit of damage and trading based. And if nothing else, if you're dying all the time on Kog'Maw, like Kog'Maws tend to be, you get to ghost through stuff to maybe actually get some damage down or even kill a lane opponent or an opponent in ARAM or wherever you're seeing Kog'Maw at this point. So I would move him up a little bit. I will be honest. I wouldn't move Vayne anywhere just because of the skin, though. It's just a skin coming in, to be honest. Ezreal, meanwhile, I wouldn't move either. So if Ezreal's at B tier, I honestly keep him still B tier. I don't think these changes are enough in the current meta to move him. There's not, basically, Ezreal's not terrible, but there's not enough of other things already in the meta that are changing that I would say, like, yeah, Ezreal, he's the king now, right? Like, Leona has a fun time against Ezreal, depending if the Leona player is good enough. Even all the movement that he has, you can get locked down quite a bit with all that, you know what I mean? So, but that's what I mean. It's also kind of opinion based because of my own game. So in the comment section, comment with your own 80 carry tier list for other players. You can compare tier lists, swap ideas about why you think certain things are good or bad. But that's going to be all from this video from me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, the actual subscribe button. Once again, MSI is in London. And one reason I mentioned that is because you're probably like, I'm not going to London. Why do you keep saying that? Just also means air times, right? So they have a little thing here. I'll click it real quick so we can all see it. So you can see schedulings based off your time zone in case there's someone that wants to watch, you know, MSI though, and you want to know like what time do things start, what it looks like. Looks like 29 to 94 pounds. I believe that's the pound symbol and not the British, the sterling symbol. British pound sterling, actually, my bad. It's all the same thing. Man, I just showed how much of an American I am. Anyways, with that being said, so the playing stages start on May 2nd, the bracket stage on May 9th, and then the final will be on May 21st. For the times, though, I believe if it's anything like Worlds, and you're over on, let's say, like the West Coast, so PTSD of the United States, right? Worlds, whenever it's in Europe, starts at like 5 in the morning. On the East Coast of the USA, you would be looking at 8 in the morning, because in British time, you would be looking at about noon to 1 o'clock in the afternoon as a start time, depending. Now, this is subject to change, of course, depending on the group stages from the bracket stage and the play-in stage, etc. But we're kind of probably looking at something like that. They're probably not starting in the morning. Like, if they were starting at 10 in the morning British time, that's like 2 in the morning West Coast time, which is like 5 in the morning East Coast time. Like, the American audience wouldn't be really watching at all. And probably not the European audience, because they probably have jobs and or school at that point too. So you probably want to push it towards the later time for both audiences across the seas. We're even talking about Asia, because at least in going into the weekend too, you don't have to make people try to wake up early on the weekend when these games go into the weekend as well. It could be like towards the afternoon still for most parties involved. With that being said, this is a little bit of a bonus extra. British, and British. So there we go. Let's go London. By the way, tidbit, Big Ben is the name of the bell, not the clock tower. We're all going to keep calling the clock tower Big Ben anyways, but at least now you know. So, thank you so much for watching the video. Have a good one. Take care, everybody. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.